Hello, fellow Lolsters. Welcome to the next episode of LOL Love of Literature. And today we have with us another, overseas guest. And our guest, Ruth Adeyemi, we cannot call her just a citizen of the US because I think she was born and brought up in Nigeria. So she is a world, world citizen. And we're very happy to have you, Ruth. And I invite Ms. Jayanti to read her bio so you guys can get to know her.
Yes, Ruth Adeyemi is a multidimensional woman achieving great feats both in career and business. She hails from Nigeria, the land of Chimamanda Adichie. She's a biochemistry graduate of Jacksonville University, USA. She graduated at the heart of the top one best chemistry student first scientific research in the Georgia Journal of Science. So we are in LOL, we are having the first, science journal published. So she's currently doing her doctorate degree in pharmacy at the University of Florida. As the founder of SARMLife, an organization focused on helping brands grow their blog traffic and income with business blogging and digital marketing strategy. She's done a tremendous job in raising five-figure business owners and other bright minds in the digital space. Ruth desires to help and be a shining light to everyone that causes harm, even as she carves a future that enables her to continue to help others. That's so nice. Welcome, Ruth, to LOL.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, yes.
Yeah. Ruth, I wanted to ask you the first question. What I wanted to know was, what is a blog coach? I mean, who is a blog coach? And because see, blogging is very personal, right? It doesn't have like a set guideline where you have to only this particular set of rules will work for blogging, because blogging, anyone can blog and everyone can blog, and you cannot say this is the type of blogging which will be successful or which will have more readership. So when you say you are a blog coach, what does that entail? Like, how do you teach a person to blog better?
I like that question because yes, like you mentioned, blogging is broad and you have like so many angles to just that word blogging. And for me as a blogging coach, you have other blogging coaches, they have different areas of focus. But personally, as a blogging coach, what I do is I coach upcoming bloggers and current bloggers how to grow the traffic of their blogs using blog marketing strategies and SEO strategies. So I've worked with new bloggers who they have this passion for a particular topic and they want to blog about it. They want the world to know about this particular topic, but they don't want to do that just for their family and friends to read the blog. They want it to be global. So I teach them how to grow the traffic. What are the strategic ways to write your blog post in a way that a global audience will see what you have to say. Also, I work with business owners who they use blogging to increase the growth and revenue of their business. And that is where the business blogging aspect comes in place, right? I teach them what are the strategies that you're going to use in writing your blog post in a way that not just drives traffic to your blog, to your website, but it makes somebody reading your blog post to want to buy whatever it is you have to sell. So it's a combination of helping bloggers who they're just passionate about blogging, but they want to do it right. And then people that they're using it for the money, they're using it as a growth strategy, a revenue generation strategy. So it's a combination of both. And I say this, for me, my focus when it comes to being a blogging coach is I teach people content SEO, which is the writing part of SEO, and then business blogging, just like I've mentioned, and then blog marketing. How do you market your blog? So these are the three areas that I focus on.
When you say SEO, increasing the traffic, I'm sure you're talking about the keywords and things, right? So you mean to say when someone wants to blog on a particular subject for a purpose with an agenda. You also go into the content of, how to write the content by itself, not just the marketing strategy, the content itself. Do you do that? And how do you do that?
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, when you said content SEO is about keywords, that's like a general knowledge, but it's deeper than that. Okay, so when it comes to SEO, it's beyond the content, right? It's beyond how you write the content. You have the technical part of SEO, which is what I like to call your website skeleton. How is your website set up, right? If the website SEO, if it's not set up right, then whatever effort you're making with your content most likely will not show. And you have local SEO, which is the Google My Business. You have international SEO. There's so many parts to SEO. All of that combined ensures that your website, your blog gets seen. So it's beyond the content.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, when you talk about blogging, see, there were days when blogging was a way of marketing and blogging was a way of self-expression. But today it's become much more than that, right? It's become like a journal for people. It's become like professionals giving out tips, and it's become so much more. How do you see blogging expanding with time, and do you think that blogging, the competition from blogging, is actually demeaning blogs, or is it complementing a blog?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I like that question so much. Okay. Now, like you mentioned, when I started blogging, right? I started blogging just because I wanted to share, as a Nigerian lady coming from, I'd never traveled before when I came here for my undergrad, and coming here in 2018, I traveled to New York City. My gosh, that's like the dream of every, immigrant or student. You come to the United States and you want to go to New York. Right? So I went to New York and I wanted everybody to know that I was in New York. I went, what? What better way to do that?
I'm in New York.
And like write about my experience,
Oh, well, I'm in New York.
Exactly. So I started my blog, and my first blog post was my New York City experience. Yes, I enjoyed writing about it, but it was more like I wanted people to know, and then, but that's the mentality of a lot of bloggers starting out. And with blogging, it was more like the beginning stage of blogging as well, just an avenue to share. To share your life with the world, for people to know about what you're doing. But like you mentioned, it's slowly moving from that into a strategy, a growth strategy for businesses, for brands, right? And moving forward, based on my clientele and people that I've been working with, I'm seeing the shift from just blogging just because to blogging for the growth of your brand and to increase the revenue of the business. Now, when it comes to vlogging and blogging, I see vlogging will always be here. Video marketing is something that is big now currently. Even with social media platforms, you see a platform that I love, which is Instagram, one of the social media platforms I appreciate. You see them slowly moving from just photos and carousels to more video marketing. They're looking at more original content, content creators showing their faces, video marketing, right? So vlogging is going to be here for a while, for a long time. Now with that, I'm going to use like my client base as an example. I'm having people come to me and be like, we know that blogging is like the starting point, is the center of every other thing. So they're coming and saying, hey, I want to convert my podcast episodes. I want to convert them into blog posts. I want to convert my YouTube videos. I want to convert that into a blog post, because blogging is like the center of everything. So if you want your podcast to grow, if you want your YouTube to grow, it starts with blogging. And then you start to use your blogging traffic and channel it to other platforms. So with vlogging and blogging, both of them are going to be here forever. And like I always say, the day blogging dies is the same day that you don't see Google anymore. Because literally when you ask a question on Google, these are blogs. You see what I mean? These are blogs. So the day you tell me that blogging does no longer exist, you're pretty much telling me that there's nothing called Google anymore, because Google thrives on blogs and blog posts.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, blogging is so important, and as you say, it has to go. It will exist, fine. But how is blogging, as it is, influencing other social media like Facebook, Twitter, or Insta? Are they complementing each other, or is blogging the best or the most important, in your opinion? What do you think?
In my opinion. Yeah. And honestly, this has not been biased, right? Like I mentioned, blogging is the root of everything, right? So, and I would say it's like the cream of the top. And when you're looking at blogging complements every other effort, not the other way around. So it's like you have a blog and it's a great way to channel your energy into other things that you have going on, right? So with social media platforms, with any other thing that you can think about, blogging is like a good starting point. Now, I know people that started their creative journey solely on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, and then they slowly grow into having their own blogs, right? And now for me, I did the opposite. And I started with blogging, and then I went to social media, and my traffic from blogging came with me. So it's like you have your blog and you gain so much traffic from that you can channel to other places. But you can also, you have people that have done the opposite over the years. It's still applicable, but the end goal is to have your blog if you want to grow for a long time. If you want to be here, if you want your brand to be here for years to come, then definitely blogging.
So yeah, when you say blogging in general, like if you're going to have a lifestyle blog, or if you are going to have a review blog, you wouldn't have much of an issue, because your research will be more how to say, experiential research, and you will be writing about it, so you won't have a problem with content. But when you talk about business blogging, it is like a huge another ball game, right? You will have to do a lot of research behind it, and you will have to know the exact business jargons. And let's say I'm a beauty blogger and I'm going to talk about the whatever, some brand or something. It still doesn't give me the mental tools to actually write about, because I don't have knowledge about it, like the right knowledge that I should have. I'm not a chemist to know what goes into the product. I'm not someone who knows exactly, but I still have to write about it. So how do you know that, like how do you maintain the authenticity of that blog, the content?
That's a fantastic question. Now, what I say is, before you go into a niche, let that niche be an area that you're an expert at. Because when it comes to niches, I categorize it into 3 groups. The first is an area of expertise. The second is an area of growth. And the last one is a no-go area. Literally, don't go there. And for that, just to give you examples, personally, a no-go area for me will be fitness. As much as I want to be fit, I don't know too much about that. I can't talk about it. An area of growth for me will be health, because currently I'm in pharmacy school, but I don't have my license yet. I don't know everything I need to know yet. So it's an area of growth for me. So right now, I can't really talk about health because I don't have the full knowledge enough compared to doctors that have websites that they're currently talking about health, right? And you have blogging. That's where I know literally what's there to know. I don't know everything, because you never know everything, but I know a good chunk of it. Wake me up, I can talk about it. That's my area of expertise, okay? So when it comes to any kind of blogging, it's always advisable to be in that area of expertise where you know what you're talking about. You have a good understanding. Now, like you mentioned, which is right, there will be times that you don't even know all the details. You don't have all the details, and you need to infuse certain information. Let's say beauty blogging, like you brought up. You might need to tell us about the materials that goes into these products, and you need to explain it in a way that we will understand as people that have no idea what you're talking about, right? And that's where SEO comes in place, because with search engine optimization, there's a research aspect of it, your content SEO, where you have to do the research about what you're writing on. Now, another thing that I strongly advise is, because there are some niches that you have to be very, very careful. Something like health, something like law. You don't give wrong information in those kind of regards, because these are people's lives at stake. So when it comes to that, I always advise, if you do not have the best information, reach out to experts that can write for you. Okay, so in that case, yes, you're a beauty blogger, you have a beauty blog and you love to talk about that, you have a good understanding of it. But let's say you want to talk about this thing and you don't have all the information, reach out to people, reach out to dermatologists, reach out to the people that can talk about it. Because one thing that I teach is credibility. When I'm teaching my folks on how to do SEO, I tell them, do not take a look at a website that is not credible. And credibility to me is looking at a blog post, looking at the author of the blog post and checking, do you have all it takes to talk about, you know? So if you want to talk about topics, sensitive topics like that, my advice would be reach out to the experts, the people who have a good understanding of what they're talking about, and have them be the author of that blog post, right? For these specific blog posts that needs to be as detailed, and not just detailed, but have the right information. Because once again, this is somebody's health, right? So we have to be very careful with the sensitive area. So that's my general advice in that regard.
Then
I think the meeting is going to end.
To the research journal you have published.
No, I think the meeting is going to end. I think we'll have to log back in.
We can.
Yes, it is less than 1 minute. We'll just.
So we were talking about research. So I thought of searching for this question. The research journal that you have published. Can you tell us more about how was the experience, or how difficult was it, or how to go about it? Many aspirants are there out there, researchers, self-interest or academic. They will know, the difficulties involved in it. And that's precisely why we are doing this, right? To help many. Yeah.
When you said about difficulty, oh my gosh, I have flashbacks on standing in the lab for like hours and just working on research. But yeah, about that, I love research. I enjoy doing research. And in my undergrad, I worked with one of my professors. She is a toxicologist, and she likes to look at the effect of heavy metals like mercury and zinc, looking at the effect of these metals on life in the water, ocean life, animals like fish, whatever you can think of in the water. And we also look at plants as well, not just animals, but plants in the water. How are these things that we keep dumping in the ocean, how does it affect life, the lives in the ocean, right? So I enjoyed that. And what we did was for about a year. So the backstory was we wanted to test the effect of these heavy metals on snails, the snails that live in the ocean. And to do that, we needed to get sample snails from a company. But when the snails came, the majority of them were already dead by the time they got to our lab. Now, we were like, okay, do we get another one? Because which was really expensive and it took a while for the snails to get here. Do we get another one? Do we scratch this research? Or what do we do? So I was like, you know what? I told my professor, I said, I'm gonna grow the snails. That's what I'm gonna do. Because back home in Nigeria, we used to grow snails, and it was just one thing that we do. Like during rainy season, you put them in strategic places, give them food.
You transferred your skills.
It was fun.
From Nigeria to US.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, instead of having to wait or scratch the research or having to go through a long process, I will grow the snails. And for about a year, I was growing the snails, and they were doing very fine. And my friends would call me snail mom. It was great. It was great. Yeah. But like after growing and we had enough samples, exposing them to these chemicals, these heavy metals that they are exposed to in the ocean and testing out the effect. And what we saw was that it was negatively affecting the life, and it explained why we keep seeing like a shortage of these wildlife or this animals in the ocean. And we also tested a plant. It's called Vallisneria americana. I know this is not a science conversation, but we tested the plants and we saw this is a reason why they're going extinct. This is why we're not seeing much of them anymore. And with that research and with the result that we got, it was a great talking point to go to conferences. Yeah, my research advisor, that was a great talking point that, hey, we actually did this research. These are the effects. So this is why when we say do not, she went, I believe she went to businesses and companies that dump heavy metals in the St. John's River, which was the river that we were testing, right? Go to them and be like, this is what we've done. This is the effect of what you're doing. This is why you should not be doing this. And then sharing measures on how to properly direct their waste product into a way that won't be harmful to the St. John's River. So to me, that was great. That was a great opportunity to get to know more about that and be involved in research. But moving forward, my research focus is in medication, because I'm in pharmacy school, is in medications. And I'm currently working on a research right now to figure out why Nigerian pharmacists and pharmacy practice in Nigeria, why they're not following good pharmacy practice, which is like a standard globally. It's a global standard. What challenges do we have in following GPP? Why are we not following it to the T? Why are we not doing the things that is expected to be done? So that's a research I'm currently carrying out with a few friends, and hopefully in a few years that will be published as well.
I was asking, happy you shared all this. It was interesting. We want to know the journal publication.
Yeah. The writing and the publication process.
Yes.
Oh, the process. When it came to the writing, I did not do the writing. It was my research advisor. Yeah, it was my research advisor that did the writing. But what I'm going to tell you is, with the writing, it takes about more than a year from writing to getting it published, because you have to go through funding, you have to go through approval processes, because she kept me along with a few things. You have to go through approval processes to make sure that they actually approve of what you've written before they can even talk about putting your publication in their journal. So it took a while, but she did the writing. And what I focused on majorly was the experiment, carrying out the experiment, staying in the lab for hours and days and making sure we have the results. Yeah.
So have you ever written any fiction or non-fiction to do with something of life, not science, not research, but life,
right?
Non-fiction. And when is your first book, any such book coming out?
Yeah, fiction. I haven't written. The only book that I have right now is about blogging, right? It's about blogging, and it's a beginner's book for bloggers, right? But when it comes to like fiction or stories about life, I don't write about.
I think it's more like, see, don't like put it in a box, because you were blogging, right? When you write about even your first blog, when you wrote about your experience in New York, you are going to like add a little bit of fiction to it to emphasize a point or exaggerate a point, right? Any form of non-fiction comes with fiction. So was there any fiction there, or did you not even do fiction?
Do you add fiction, or do you just write what?
Most of the time, I just write about like the educational part of blogging. Now, there are times that I include like my life and journal and how things are going with me, updates, and just using that as a platform, as a medium to encourage people. So you have the journal section, in my blog as well. But as per, that's a published work, if you want to say, right?
Yeah.
But as per putting all of that in a book, currently, no. But it is one of my goals, and my timeline that I'm giving myself is 5 years. 5 years from now, what can I come up with, right? Because by that time, there's so many things I've learned on this journey. that I would love to share, you know, eventually. So that's a goal, but it's like a 5-year plan for me.
So yeah, so the book that you have already published, which is called Mastering the Art of Blogging, right? So
yes.
When you wrote this book, though there have been a lot of like you must have given like tips and you know how to go about it and all that. And I'm sure that it had like a global audience because it's not, you know, particular to, but did your multicultural background add value to it? Do you think it had something to do with it?
I believe so, because with the book, my experience was coming, the tips and the things that I have written in the book was coming from me as a Nigerian blogger and also being in the United States. I understand the challenges of being a Nigerian blogger, and I also see the challenges of being a blogger in the United States with the wealth of information and how people can get easily confused. And you have the other end of the spectrum where you don't even have enough information. So combining that, it was a great way to bring in both audiences and share a perspective that is unique. And with that, I got people from like different countries, and it was so helpful, not just to people in one location, but like all over the world, because it's a book that addresses challenges from major locations where you have all the information, but you're confused on what to focus on, and you have little to no information. So it's like combining both perspective. And I believe that that made the book even more helpful to a lot more bloggers, because it wasn't just coming from a one-sided view, so to speak. Yeah.
And because it's a book which teaches something, did you have like exercises through the book where the reader can also participate, or how did you make it more participative?
There isn't much like task in the book. You can ask for like, you know how you have like accountability books where you have like things that you have. Yeah. It wasn't more of that, but more like a guide to help you in your blogging journey. It was more of a guide. But then in the book, I also had like links to accountability sheets that can help bloggers. So it had links to other resources, but the book itself is more of a guide to help you as you're blogging and as you're thinking about how to grow traffic, more like a guide to help bloggers.
How long did it take?
Talking about, yeah, I was about to ask that. So how long did it take for you? And is it, published as a print book, or is it a straight Kindle version? Did you do it yourself, or did you give it to someone? Can you tell that your experience in that?
When you said how long, you mean how long it took to write the book?
For that book, yes.
So probably took me about 2 months to compile everything, because it's a 77-page ebook. It is not published as an ISBN, printed book, not that yet. And I did that purposefully because I wanted it to be solid. And once again, it's like, I like to give myself 5 years for things. Like 5 years into my journey as a blogger, as a blogging coach, I want to come up with a printed book that compiles my experiences over the years, because I love learning and I see myself as somebody that is still growing. So I believe that like 5 years from now, I can have something solid that can now be published. But with the writing process, it took about 2 months to come up with it. And I think I'm missing the other questions that you asked.
No, she asked you how long, and the second part was like, was it digitally published or did you publish it print? I think you've answered both the questions. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I wanted to know how the response to the book was, and have there been people who contacted you that it's worked for them, and the readership, how has it been?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wish I could like share my screen and show you like comments that I got. But I have the second edition of the ebook that I put out. But before then, the major comment that is coming to me right now was from this lifestyle blogger who is also a doctor. She said, she was like, Ruth, a lot of people make blogging and SEO so hard that for years, I didn't want to learn about SEO. But then with this, I feel like I know SEO and I can go ahead to implement everything in the book to grow my blog. And another comment, a review that I'm remembering right now is that you made SEO so simple. And that was my goal, because nothing has to be hard. And when it comes to writing, I believe your skill as a writer comes in play when you're able to take a hard concept and break it down in a way that even somebody that has no idea about what you're talking about can read your piece and they have a great understanding. So those reviews were like great for me, and it achieved the purpose that I wanted it to achieve, which is simplifying everything. It doesn't have to be hard. So these are like one of the good comments that is coming to my head at the moment.
How did you use social media to promote your book while you had just published it? Or did you use blogging?
Yeah, funny enough, I didn't really use social media to promote it. It was more of, I had my students that I've worked with, and then they had access to the first edition, and then it was referrals. When people, you have something good, you've read something good, you want to tell someone about it. When you watch a movie that is really, really nice, like, oh my gosh, I have to share this. That was the process of marketing the book. Like, people read it, so beneficial to them, they share it with someone else. And like, hey, go get your copy. So that's how it's been, like, just referrals and people seeing the value and sharing it with someone else.
Got it. So I think now it's time for us to go to the next segment of the LOL. It's called World of W. World of W is like a set of W questions, like what, when, where, and all that. And you don't have to be detailed. You can just be on point, because if a person could not sit through the entire session, they could just scroll down here and listen to the gist of the session. That is the point of it. So I think we can go on to that, to the World of W's. My first question would be, how was the editing of your book? How do you go about editing your book?
Yeah, I like that. So on my team, I have an editor and a proofreader. And the reason why I did that is because starting my blog, I started as somebody that wasn't the best writer in the world. I even took writing classes and English classes just to be a better writer and to be good. All right. So I had to get an editor on my team to do a good job, because I know I'm not the best in that regard. So that's how my book was edited. Once I was done with writing, which I'm good at now, I'm better, I just sent it to the editor, and she did a great job of editing the book.
So why not fiction, Ruth? Why not fiction?
I don't have a solid answer to that. That's something I would do in the future. I don't have any sentiment about that. So it's something I'm looking forward to do in the future.
Chimamanda started as a blogger. But she used to write only fiction kind of blogging, and later she turned out to be a fiction writer, feminist. Chimamanda.
Oh yeah. She
started off as a blogger when she went to US. Similar, I'm drawing parallels. Yes, especially some places your accent is so much attractive. Because that is the accent Chimamanda introduced to me, the Nigerian accent. So sweet.
Oh, you had an interview with her before?
No. Do you know her? Please bring her to LOL. Please. Do you know her?
Not personally. Yes.
Anyways.
Yeah. So my next question is like, how long did the research for your book take? Not the writing, the research.
The research part. Oh, that took more than a year. That took more than a year, because writing the book, it wasn't just knowing about the industry, but experiencing the industry. It's one thing to know about something, but it's another thing to have your experience. So it was a fusion of, I need to put my experience in this book beyond what I knew. So it took me about more than a year to come up with that book that is something practical. So it took about a year.
When is your next book? Fiction or non-fiction? Any book?
Any book. Yes. Oh, for that, I would say in
5 years.
2 to 3, because by the next 2 to 3 years, I will be 5 years in my blogging journey. So in the next 2 to 3 years, I strongly believe I'll have something.
Do you have a Nigerian community club or somewhere in the place you're residing? Do you have?
I have a Nigerian community for bloggers, like an African community for bloggers, which is Nigeria.
Can you reach Chimamanda and bring her to LOL?
I could try. Nothing is impossible. I could try. Nothing is impossible.
Please.
No, you can bring other authors also, whichever author, fiction or non-fiction. We are very much interested to have, authors from around the world.
Comes, then I have a lot to, of course, to ask. Anyway.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. You can bring us any author because we want to, build the community of authors just more than Asia and the US. We want to go a little wider. So right now, all our, guests are from Asia, either from Asia, because I'm from India and she's from Singapore. So most of our guests are from Asia, and there have been a few guests from the US. We would like to have a larger, community of authors around.
I'm Nigerian. I'm not even American. I'm Nigerian. So you have that.
Yes. You still want to know more, like more Nigerians, more African authors, because there have been. Because the literature of the third world has not come out as much as the first and the second world, and it has to come to the forefront, like think, like if we have to talk about first or the second world author, we wouldn't have like tens and thousands of authors in our mind. And when we say countries like Africa or India, there are very, very few authors that people can even connect to, can even think of. So we want to show the people that there are so many, literary minds around, and we don't want to, restrict our guest list to the first two worlds. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think I have just one last question to ask you before we end the segment. My last question would be, see, like you said, like we were talking about the authenticity of a blog, there is a certain, credential authenticity attached to a book also. When you're writing fiction, you don't have to have, expertise in something to write fiction. You just have to be creative and you can write fiction. You will have to do a lot of research though. But when you're writing a non-fiction book like the one you have, was there any, like you had 1 year of research done, but still, did you at any point feel like, I'm not connected to anything related to this? Are people going to, call my knowledge authentic?
That's a good question. Now, did I have that thought? I don't think so. I don't remember having that. And I think that came from waiting that long to have some experience and having my story to tell. So I was writing something that it wasn't just from someone else's knowledge, but it was something I had experienced, and that's also one of the reviews that I got, that is like, you write because we can see in your writing that you've experienced this, you've gone through this. So I didn't really have those moments, but I will also say that I have not published another one because I want to gain more experience and have something solid. Because what I learned in my first year, that's not what I'm learning right now. And I'm pretty sure a year, 2 years from now, is going to build as well. So that's why I've been waiting to publish a book, because I feel like that takes a whole nother level of intentionality and experience that goes into publishing a book, especially in my industry, and with it being nonfiction as well.
Thank you. And can you share about your experience through the session of LOL, and if you have any passing words to our listeners about writing a book in general, not like life, whatever you feel like.
I would tell you that you guys have been like firing me with questions, and I love it. It's been great getting to know that you have a space, a platform for authors and writers, because we need more of that. We don't have enough of that. And I started a writing community when I was in Nigeria, and it's sad to say that it's not as strong as I would love it to be because of every other thing that I'm focusing on. But to have this platform, to have your platform is great. And please, like, keep it moving, keep it up, because we need that. We need that. This is important. And as to life in general, what I would say is perseverance, because through my journey and being a girl from Nigeria and being where I am today, it took a whole lot of perseverance to get here, and being patient and trusting, having faith in God. So just persevere. If you're listening to this, the role of perseverance in getting to where you want to get to. You want to write that book, you want to be an author, and you're not seeing that right now. Perseverance, because the authors that you see that they've made a name for themselves, it took a while to get there. So if you can persevere, and challenges will come, that's normal, that's life. But being able to see challenges as a stepping stone to get to where you want to get to, where you've dreamed of, that's a great life tip or life attribute to have under your belt. So I would say persevere. It's gonna happen.
Thank you. And stopping the recording.